Louis Theroux is, I was going to say he's back, but he hasn't been away.
He didn't go anywhere.
He's back in the UK this time. With I think this is just a one-off, isn't it? We had 3 UK documentaries last year. This one was called Talking to Anorexia. And it's him going around various units in London.
Yeah, sort of inpatient and outpatient units for eating disorders, yeah.
Talking to some of the young women or older women who struggle with eating disorders, and talking to some of the healthcare professionals who help sort of treat the disease. And it was quite a harrowing watch, really. It was quite as all of these documentaries have been, but I think we said when we talked about the Drinking to Oblivion one, certainly, that when it's close to home, and certainly close to your home as you're in London, it feels a bit more relatable.
And of course, I knew someone on the Drinking to Oblivion one.
You didn't know anyone here?
No, this was
none of the healthcare professionals.
No one I recognised.
No, as he always does on his documentaries, he meets a few different characters. Rosie, I think, was the one who he spent the most time with. She was a former dental assistant who'd only recently really sort of developed. Is it developed?
Is it well? I don't know what the medical term is, but yeah, developed is fair enough.
Anorexia. This was, I think, taped during this summer, and it had been in the autumn when she started to lose a lot of weight, and I think the sort of recurring theme is the relationship with food, that they feel if they eat anything that they are sort of completely feel rubbish, and they have to like walk it off. Jessica, I think her name was, who did like 2,000 star jumps a day or something like that
well, yeah, that was just the strangest one. I know. It was
like Rosie. It was Rosie we followed over. You know, we met her parents. We went home with her for a bit. We saw her in her sort of review where she'd done a speech about wanting to go home, and actually she had made it home by the end. It was a nice sort of journey. I think he likes journeys like that. Whereas, like in the documentary we talked about last week, the gun crime one, it was sort of, this is much of a muchness. This is going to keep continuing. There's nothing we can do. Here, at least, you had one story of all of them where there was at least some sort of happy ending. You know, she put a little bit of weight on by the end. But the other characters here, I think, were much more serious. I mean, the one woman he met, Janet, who was in her 60s and had struggled with it since she was a teenager. She was at home and she went through her home and said, you know, I can't even eat a full cracker. You know, I have to crack them up and eat like half a cracker. That's my lunch. I'm allowed like 1 sweet a month on the first of the month. And just things like that.
Or no, she eats the chocolate, doesn't she? She eats the chocolate on the first of the month, and then each week she sucks 1 sweet.
Yeah, sorry, yes. She has a bag
of chocolate. But the specifics of it are so bizarre.
There was another girl, Ifzana. There was like a really sort of scene that stuck with me where they're just in the sort of, I would call the restroom or something in the facility, like the lounge, and she's standing up and he's saying, they've told you to sit down. You know, they said, try sitting down.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're standing up, you're burning calories. Try sitting down. Try and sit down for a second. And she literally sits down for a second and stands up again. And that just baffled me. And she can't deal with like the rules of the place or anything like that. The one thing I thought, not he missed a trick so much, because all the 4 women that he focused on were really sort of strong personalities and sort of fell in with the narrative. But I thought maybe he could have met like a man or a boy with an eating disorder as well. He brought it up briefly in his sort of overall assessment at the beginning that, you know, men and women both struggle with this disorder, but it was only women that he met in this.
Well, I think as well, and I know a little bit about this subject matter. This is an area of mental health that I looked into working in, but didn't go into an area. It is heavily dominated by women because, and I think Louis did explain a lot of it, is that a lot of people who suffer from this are influenced by body image. I don't think that's exclusive to women, though. I think men do struggle with that as well. No, I would say that's becoming more of a thing, and I do think you're right. And I think it would have been maybe
met Amma. Yeah, I don't think the documentary was lesser for it, But I'm sure at one of these units there was a male patient that he could at least have interviewed maybe in one scene. Maybe he did. Maybe he thought. I'm sure he sort of considered it, and that's why he put that little bit in there. And I think that men struggle with body image as well. And there has been, I mean, Reggie Yates has done several good documentaries about that on BBC Three. But I did really enjoy, and I it's only now talking about it that I realised how powerful it was. It was quite hard to watch.
I think whenever Louis does something in the UK, we've always said it just feels more real. Not to say that anything he did in America wasn't hard hitting, but you can kind of distance yourself from it. That's in America. I don't know where that is.
Yeah, we can't relate to the gun crime. We can't relate to hearing gunshots on our road every night.
I got a little bit of feedback on Twitter about this one, and there's a couple of things here that are quite interesting. Katia F said Louis is simply a legend, pure class, and I think that's the main majority. Is he does this really well, and he manages to get underneath the subject really well. Talk to the people, deal with the actual human being behind the disease, and he always does that really well. But another person who replied to some of the tweets I put out is at Adrian Says, and he said, I'm ready for him to tackle something lighter again. I sit down to his stuff now knowing it will be worthy but also harrowing, and I think that again is a good point.
Like Louis, the stuff he did in the porn industry, and obviously, we're getting nerdy again with the wrestling and
yeah, but not only that, even his Louis Meat series, which was much more. I know, unfortunately, it's known for the Jimmy Savile, but actually, he met with Paul Daniels and other celebrities, and I think there is a point there, and it's a good point, is that maybe his next subject could be something on the lighter side. Louis is actually very funny as a human being. I mean, not only does he look like a living embodiment of Where's Wally, but he is quite humorous, and he uses that in his interviews to sort of bring people down and to his, to sort of like normalise and get in with people. He uses humour quite well, so it would be good to see him using a bit more of that in the topic and the subject matter.
And can I just promote as well? Yeah. There's a great review on the website by Freya Lewis, which is a good read as well.
It's a shame that there's not going to be a couple more of these, purely because, obviously he's just done this as a one-off. I agree with everything you said about it. Harrowing, but absolutely engrossing in the way that Louis does these.
I mean, I could see what you're saying about the light-hearted ones, but obviously at the end of the day, it's sort of his decision to. I was still waiting for his documentary about going undercover on all the quiz shows he did the Christmas before last, when he was on Pointless and University Challenge in the same sort of week, but that never materialised. And I thought this was a really powerful documentary, and I think the people he followed really sort of showed what anorexia is about, because it is I think he was trying to sort of demystify it in some respects. And because it is such a wide-ranging condition, and it is, it's hard to pin down, as he asked that woman at one of the units, that it is hard to pin down the triggers, and they talked about like bullying, and the one girl obviously had the arranged marriage that went wrong, or she walked out on. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it in the only way you can, really, and really appreciate what Louis does, and hopefully, he'll do something else soon, and hopefully it'll be another UK one, but we'll watch it whatever, because we're massive Louis fans.